Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Kenny Hack. Tonight, going to be doing something a little different on New Year's night. Start off the new year with a little black canvas project. Um, this is just a stock black and white image I found on the internet. Just using it for personal use and education purposes, not for sale. Uh, this here is my first demo board. This is about the second black canvas piece I've done. I tried a demo the other night of a different picture and it come out a lot darker than I wanted. So got home tonight, prepped up this one really quick, trying a little different technique that I don't know if other people are doing it. I really haven't watched any other videos on black canvas techniques. So it was just something I always thought about trying. So I got this new board here. This right half is prepared kind of the traditional method. It's going to be really hard to see. I'm going to try to catch it. You can see how rough these canvases are. These are the cheap canvases you get at 50% off at Hobby Lobby in like an 8-pack. And on the left side is kind of how I've prepped it. You can see it's much smoother. And all I did was take some 400 grit sandpaper, and I used the open mesh sandpaper. I believe it's the Diablo brand. That it's not a paper-backed sandpaper. It's like an open mesh. Hold on, I'll grab one piece and get it on film here for you. So this here is the piece of sandpaper I used. It's made by Diablo. If you can read that on there, probably not. But it's 400 grit. And you can see it's an open mesh. It's so that kind of helps get the little extra paint get stuck in that mesh. Helps pull it up. But what I did to prep this is I put on a layer of white and I just hand sand it. I only sanded the one half because I want to do a side-by-side comparison and see if it helps make a smoother contrast image and not have these rough areas, because this is probably the lowest quality canvas you can get. So if you paint it, sand it, I did 4 coats. And I sanded in between each coat of white. Except for after the last coat. I put the last coat of white on, blow dried it, and then put on the coat of black. Gave it another good blow dry. And I don't wait 24 hours for every layer to dry. I just take a blow dryer to it, dry it good for 5 minutes. And then you usually want to air dry it kind of like that. You know, let the paint cool down back to room temperature. If it's still hot, it's kind of a little gummy, but if you get it back to room temperature, it'll be fairly dry to the touch. So it maybe took me a half hour to get this board prepped. Now, I do recommend after you got the board prepped, and even if you power dried it, maybe let the board sit for, I put it in like my hood that has a fan in it. And so I just turn on my box fan, put it in here. There's a lot of draft going through there. So it can kind of have another hour or so just to make sure that paint is good and dry. If it's a little bit gummy, it's going to make your product not turn out as well. I mean, the longer you can let this sit and dry, the better off you are. If you want, get your board prepped up the night before and burn it the next day. You're probably going to have more consistent and better results. But for this trial, it's more, I'm not looking to say I'm the best black canvas artist out there. And like I said, this was my second attempt at black canvas and just trying different speeds and power settings as I was coming across, trying to find where I can get the best speed and the best contrast. Like over here, I was running about 6,500 millimeters per minute at 85% power, and it made her face look a lot smoother, but you can see there's supposed to be a lot of shading in her face, so it kind of was probably going a little too slow, and it kind of took out a lot of the finer details. I don't think I'll ever be able to get her freckles to come in there. With this black canvas, it's just kind of that rough surface hides a lot of stuff. So I'm gonna kind of go with this middle number, 7,000. This whole left side was at 7,500. Like, I went 7,000. There's about another transition in here to about 7,300. And there's only, it's like the only spot where I stopped and restarted that you can't see the line. I had one time out of all these tests, I was able to get it to line back up close enough that you couldn't see the restart. It's very faint, like right in there. And I went from like 7,300 to 7,500. And this was a reclaimed piece of canvas. There was some old paint underneath. And I think where all these blotches are on her face, that might have been the old paint that was stuck on the canvas from when I cleared it off or didn't use it. So that might have been the canvas's fault, not from the speed of the laser. Even at 7,500, I was getting very good shading. A little darker image, but it added a lot more contrast to her face. And I kind of like the looks of that. I like to have more contrast than a brighter white look. So, like I said, I got a little while to let this one dry, probably another hour, and then I'll start the burn, and we'll jump back. I'm going to clip in a speed up pass through of just the burn going, just kind of put it on a time lapse, speed it up, watch it burn through. At 7,000, this is roughly a 7 by 9.5 image, 7 inches by 9.5. It's only going to take a little over an hour. So you can get very good production speeds doing it this method. Even with just a cheap little diode. Oops, I'm sorry, that was at 7,500 though. Let's change that down to 7,000. You can see I'm at 85% power. I got some overscan turned on, 300 DPI, 90-degree burn angle on the newsprint. On the shape properties, now my standard numbers are 1.35, negative 15, 15, 50, 50, 50. And that's typically what I burn on wood. Now, like I said, I don't have a lot of burns under my belt for doing black canvas. But with my few test runs, I brought the gamma down a little bit. That brightened it up. And then I added more contrast, trying to get more shading into her face. And raise the enhancements up to 100 to get a little sharper edge on the white and black areas to try to make that highlights pop a little bit better to get it to show up on the canvas. I think it shows up better on tile. I might try to get a piece of tile, a large 12-inch piece, and try the same image and see how much better results you can get on tile versus canvas, but that'll probably be on a different video. For right now, we're going to see how the sanded canvas versus just the painted over canvas, if sanding that down to a smooth layer helps the image. You can kind of see, hopefully, in the video here as I translate. This side is just painted straight over. As I come over, this side has been sanded. It's in person, it's noticeably smoother. And like I said, this was 4 coats. You could have put on as many coats as you want. You can maybe even go get a bottle of gesso and just apply another heavy coat of gesso and like get all these little fibers filled in really good and sand it smooth. And that might be an easier technique than using spray paint. Spray paint goes on so thin, it takes a lot of layers to do it. But that's what I have handy. This was a damaged canvas. See, it's got a little dent in it. So it's going to be a good practice piece anyway. So, like I said, I'm going to get everything set up for the burn. Do a little time-lapse video. Have that stuck in there for you. And then we'll come back at the end and wrap it up. So first things, now that the time lapse is over, you might be wondering how to best finish off the edges of these. How I do it, you can see this edge is finished already. It's nice and clean, very simple. Another good use of these big Magnum markers from the marker method is they got a nice wide tip on them. You can just run that down the edge and fill it in with a couple passes until it's a nice solid black, and then your whole image is framed in. I've tried flipping the boards upside down and coming back afterwards and trying to paint them edges, but sometimes I've had a bit of if your image goes all the way to the edge, I've had it where it's oversprayed underneath and kind of misted on to some other pieces I've tried on different stuff. So on like my ceramic tiles, that's what I do. If I've painted a ceramic tile, I'll just take the permanent magic markers and fill in any of the edges to get them to black. And that's just kind of how I do it. Another simple little trick to frame out everything. So here we got the final results. When it was burning, I thought I was running too fast. It looked really flat. And it was almost like her face was just solid white. I don't know if you could see that in the time lapse. But I thought, uh-oh, I slowed it down too much and was going to overburn it. But it was mostly just the fine little bit of soot that was built up, little residue on the surface. As soon as I wiped it off, and all I did was take a paper towel, wetten it down, and then just wipe the whole image off. And that cleaned it up quite a bit. And actually could see the finer details in it then. Is it a passing success for the experiment of sanding it versus the natural? Can't really tell with this piece. I can't, there's no huge noticeable difference from the left side to the right side. There might be some more subtle shading that showed up on the left side, but it's so hard without doing a full exact side by side. I mean, so you'd have to almost split this picture in half and do the same half on both sides. And that's because you never can do a right side to left side because nothing's ever shaded exactly the same. So unless there was like a clear line delineating it and there's a major difference, I really can't see it. So does it hurt? No, it doesn't hurt at all. And like I said, if we got some gesso and filled in them cracks solid to where it was smooth as a sheet of paper, maybe then it would act more like tile and you could get in the really fine details. But that might be experiment for later. It might be something for you people that really like doing the black canvas methods to try. I honestly don't know when I'll get back to black canvas. I'm trying every different kind of method I can find. Just want to be able to kick out a couple pieces, kind of get the gist of it, kind of get some initial settings, so if anybody wants me to do it, I kind of have an idea of where to start and get me something going. So I'm not the master of any method. I want to be kind of the jack of all trades and be able to do kind of hopefully do fairly well at anything I pick up is kind of what I'm trying to shoot for. And I think it helps with the content, gives you viewers a little something extra to look at than just doing the exact same project over and over. It's very easy to dial in your numbers and get very good consistent results if you're only doing one method and that's all you do. It doesn't take long to get your method down and your numbers dialed in. But I don't think that'd make for very good watching if I did the same thing every day. So hopefully you're enjoying the content. Hope this video helped. If you've seen it below, the last time I looked, I'm only about 25 subscribers away from hitting the 1,000 mark. Hopefully, between my little time-lapse video and this little tutorial, maybe that'll push me over the 1,000 subscriber mark and start the new year off right. Hope everybody had a safe New Year's. Hope 2021's a little better than 2020. And thank you for watching, and I'll see y'all on the next video.